afternoon, y'all. Listen, not me talking about some good morning. Good afternoon to everybody that is here. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate the warm welcome back that you guys have given us. I mean, the amount of comments that I saw in the last broadcast of just people being excited for the Daily Manners being back. I can say that I have been so far enjoying it. We only one day in, but I'm grateful to be able to shift. As always, as you guys are tuning in, go ahead and tell God thank you. And tell us one thing that you are grateful for. I do apologize. I was a little bit, later than usual, but I had a few changes that I actually needed to make. And what I will say that I'm grateful for is I am grateful for the space that I now have. Hey, happy birthday, Visha. Happy birthday. Let me get out what happy birthday, girl. As y'all are coming in, even if you catch this on a replay, be sure that you tell Visha happy blessed birthday. Y'all know we celebrate birthdays here. In this ministry, I always get excited about birthdays, whether it's my own, whether it is somebody else's. And so I just pray that this year is a year filled with nothing short of God's glory, that it is one of the most joyful and the most, honestly relaxing years that you've had. I pray that this is a year where you get to experience the blessing without trauma. And so I just appreciate you. The ministry appreciates you. We love you. We are so grateful that you are here, that you are one of our moderators, and that we are grateful for your life and all that God is doing. And so I just want to just say all of that to say, get ready for one of the, busiest years of your life, but get ready for also one of the most blessed seasons of your life. And I just decree and declare that it is so in Jesus' name. Love you to life, sis. And so, happy blessed birthday. And so, back to what we were saying about like gratitude. I will say that today I'm grateful for the space that I have to actually, think about how I can improve the ministry and how I can show up better for God. Today I was telling God, it was one of those days, but I was just telling him starting the broadcasting day at a later time, not necessarily starting my day, but the broadcasting time. I said it gives me the space to feel like I'm not rushing. It gives me space to sit and actually think about what is it that I actually need to do? How can I improve on where God is, what God is doing? How can I make it better, a better experience, not just for me, but also for people? And, I will just tell y'all when I, was telling God, thank you for that. He gave me a revelation that we are going to talk about on today. As always, as y'all are coming in, go ahead and tell God thank you. Tell us what you're grateful for. Please be sure, even if you are catching this thing on the replay, that you are smashing that thumbs up button. And also subscribing. What I will say is that today's topic is going to be about giving up control. Let me say it this way. Today's topic is about giving up control so that you can start back living life, so that you can start back enjoying life, but more so that you can get to a place called freedom. So this has been a season of ministry, rather not necessarily my life, but I guess it is all in all. But I will just speak from a ministry standpoint where it has been some changes. It has been God making changes and pushing me to shift, or giving me the opportunity to shift, because God doesn't push us. He doesn't force us to do anything. I believe that he presents us with opportunities to shift. But for ministry, it's been an opportunity of God breaking down the barriers of fear in me and saying, hey, if you trust me, I need you to do less. I need you to do less broadcasting than you're used to doing. And I need you not to wear yourself thin. The old me was so afraid that if I didn't show up a certain way, that I would go without in more ways than one. Not necessarily, hey, Brendy, not necessarily from a financial standpoint, but have you ever been so engulfed in fear that it's the very thing that God wants you to do or shift, it terrifies you so much that you feel like if you shift that way, then you will not make it out. Like you will not make it out of that storm, out of that season, out of that situation. And so I feel like for years, like revelation, or I guess understanding, hindsight is 2020. But I feel like, my entire, like, honestly, my entire life, I can say that my entire life, the journey through the wilderness was really something that showed me that, like, even though I thought that I was living life and I thought I was living a good life before Christ, but it showed me to what extent, like, I had not really been living life. And I will say this: you don't really understand freedom in life until you let go of your need to control. And a lot of times our need to control is directly geared at what we fear we won't have. Yeah. I'm going to say that again. A lot of times, right, it is based off of our fear that we will not have what we need. Our need to control comes a lot from that. When you think about, like, I don't know if you guys have ever, like, seen a child that was sheltered or who was sheltered. Growing up, before I lived with my aunt, like, I was a sheltered kid, but I had seen, like, other sheltered kids that were like 10 times worse than me, where, they're so sheltered, they can't do nothing. They can't, that they can't go hang out with friends. It's just to school and back. And, it was different degrees of sheltering. And one of the things that, like, we saw, like, with kids that were sheltered, were that the moment that they got old enough and they moved out, typically those were the kids that actually just, like, wowed out. Like, they were the kids where they didn't just live life, but it's just like, once they were out of mama and daddy's house, or out of grandma or whoever raised them's house, it's like they just experienced life, without any rules, without any confinement. Now, let's take a look at the parents, because a lot of times in that dynamic, oh my God, Lord, a lot of times in that dynamic, we tend to focus on the kid and their response. But a lot of times, like this morning, God was, like, showing me, like, parents. He was showing me my mom. And the main thing of why most parents are sheltering is because they have a fear that something will happen to their child. And so them controlling is a means of protecting. Today, the Lord told me, like, you trying to control your life, trying to control all of the different things happening around you, trying to control the flow of things, is a form of you being afraid. And so you're acting in a way that you feel will protect you and, preserve you. And so a lot of times the journey of faith, when we think about surrenderance is about, like, giving up control. When we think about the journey of faith, we enter into this journey with God and we're following God, and it's like every decision that he's leading us or presenting us, with, we have the choice to either I'm going to continue protecting myself, or I am going to actually shift with God and actually trust him with controlling the details of this particular area. It happened to me, like, with ministry, like finances. It happened, like, even in this season of God asking me to, you understand what I'm saying? God asking me to shift in a way. And it's basically God asking me to shift is representative of, can you give me control? A lot of times, we resist God because of that thing we want to control. A lot of times we fail at trusting God because we control. This morning, like, as I was, like, just, like, going through, like, my new routine with God, he was I was talking to him about how I felt. Like, Lord, I feel like I have so much more time to, like, devote to the to other areas of my life. And it got to a point where the Holy Spirit stopped me and he said, do you realize now that by you just simply adjusting and giving God this level of control over finances, control over all these different areas, these areas that you were rebelling in because you were afraid. Like, do you see now that, like, you really weren't living at all? Can I get you guys to give a thumbs up if you guys are watching? He says, yeah, you really were not living at all. When you think about how wound up, like, you were, when you think about to like what degree like you were rebelling, and even if you weren't rebelling, it's like you were looking at the details of your life with a fine-tooth comb. And like when I actually sat and thought about like what God was actually saying, and just to that level, it's like, wow, yes, I was physically living, but when I think about like the quality of the life that I was living, I like straight up told God, like I really had not been living. I didn't realize that I had put down so many different things that I enjoyed doing growing up. So many things that even as a young adult that simple things like I like to read books, little things like that. I just simply did not realize that like I had stopped living because I was looking at and observing my life through like a microscopic lens. Is God gonna do it? Is this? And the Lord says it's no way to enjoy life when you're so freaked out and anxious. Have you ever like, encountered a person? I'll use this as an example. Have you ever encountered a person that was, let's just say it's a group dynamic. I'll use like my trip that I took in June to Dallas. It was a group of us, like my sorority sisters. We went to first of all, am I freezing? Can you guys let me know if I am freezing? Because I feel like I'm not seeing any comments or anything. And I want to be sure that it is not freezing. I know that up here in my office, sometimes I do have, hold on one second. Okay, I know that sometimes in my office I do have somewhat of a glitchy signal, but I'm gonna just keep going, and I pray that the replay gives you guys what you need. But have you guys, okay, they said no. Have you guys ever like been in a group setting? Let's just say you guys are going to a restaurant or it's a family reunion, and have you guys ever encountered what they call a type A personality? A person that is trying to control the flow of everything. They are a stickler for time. Like they are by the book. They are like so rigid. Oh man, that's heavy. They are like so rigid that like you stress out just being around them. Have you ever like seen people's responses to them? Because a lot of times people's responses to them, especially in a setting where people are supposed to be enjoying, and they are just a stickler for time, a stickler for the rules. Have you ever noticed that many people are annoyed with that kind of personality because they are oftentimes a party pooper? They oftentimes really, and I'm gonna just say this, a person that operates under the guise of being a controlling person is a person that has no joy. This is why a lot of times in those settings, people look at people like that are control freaks, and you just be like, no. Because they are thieves of joy. The spirit of control, I'm going to say it again, is the thief of all joy, which is why the more control, the more controlling we become, even in the dynamic of faith, the more controlling we become, the less joy that we have, and the more weary we become. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. The more controlling we become, the less joy we have, the less enjoyable we are to be around, the more weary we become. And I'm going to say this, joy equals your strength. And when we operate under the realm of being so afraid that we're trying to control the dynamics of things, we don't get to experience the joy or even gain the strength that comes from joy, that comes from the Lord. And so a lot of times what the devil does is he uses fear to get us into a place where where instead of surrendering, we control. Because he knows that with control comes rebellion, and with rebellion comes delays. And he knows that if we are delayed for X amount of time, that it's only a matter of time before he can just literally steal, kill, and destroy, like really ruin our destiny, get us to miss what God is doing, or we get so discouraged that we say, you know what, I'm done with the process, I'm done with God, and we just live life the same way. And so today, like God was showing me that like that was how I've been, and honestly, is how a lot of believers are. So controlling to the fact that like joy comes and goes every single time you enter and exit out of a place of surrenderance. And so today, like God was telling me, like I was telling him, like I feel free. I don't feel stressed. I don't feel anxious. You may have anxious moments, but having an anxious moment is not the same as having an anxious spirit. Sip some coffee today. Having an anxious moment is not the same as having an anxious spirit. He showed me when I was afraid, and even when I thought that I was walking by faith, but really it was being me living bound by fear. How, like, the amount of control that I felt, the amount of like anxiety that I always had while I was waiting. And I'm gonna say this, I was in a perpetual waiting phase because what God was trying to show me is that I did not trust him. And I'm gonna say this, your reaction to waiting, your reaction to circumstances will always let you know where you are or where you fall on the faith radar. And so today I was talking to God just about how I just feel free. I don't feel anxious. I may have an anxious moment, but in those anxious moments, I'm saying, God, this is what I'm anxious about. This is what I'm worked up about. But I was just telling him, like, there's a flow that comes to it. I don't feel like I'm being burnt out. I don't feel like I'm not getting my needs met. It just feels like this was indeed the right thing to do. The Lord basically told me that, like, giving up control is what gives us freedom. Giving up control is what brings us into a, and I'm gonna say this, control shows up every single day for a lot of us, in moments where we have to wait, in moments where we're going through something that we don't want to go through, in moments where we don't agree with how things are flowing. Like, a lot of times we're trying to control the narrative or control the flow of things, and we stress ourselves out because anytime we go against the grain of what God is doing, anytime we go against the grain of even God's will for our life, we feel friction. And so God told me that, like, a lot of people go throughout life feeling the friction that comes from them trying to control how their life is playing out, how circumstances are working in their favor, or whatever the case may be. He says, this is what many of my children go throughout life feeling. They don't have anxious moments. They're living with anxious spirits, and the anxiety is tied to their need to control things. And a lot of times what happens is, because God does things differently, and he oftentimes does things in a way that we don't expect, a lot of times we get freaked out by God doing it. We get triggered, and instead of, and we get presented with the opportunity of faith versus fear. And many times we unknowingly and unconsciously by default choose fear. And so we enter into like this battle where our flesh is really warring with the will of God, with the timing of God. And it's kind of like, every single time you rebel, there is some type of consequence that comes with it. So it goes back to, I've been reading this book called Let Them by Mel Robbins. I may have shown y'all this book a few months ago. I've had it a few months, and it was like every single time I tried to pick up this book, it's just like nothing happened. And, I'm going somewhere with this. And it's like I didn't read it. And so, like, finally, like, I started to read it this week, and it has been such a blessing. But during my time reading it, like this morning, she was talking about, like, letting people just do what they are. And just because you let a situation be what it is doesn't mean that there are not consequences, either positive or negative, that's associated with it. So even in this moment, like, God had me looking at like sources of stress over the years, or not even over the years, over the past few months. And one of those sources of stress, I haven't talked about this in a while, has been my neighbors playing music loud, like at 9, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., playing music loud at 10 p.m., like literally on a school night. And it got so bad, like the last time, that I basically told them, like, if y'all keep on, because I just been warning them, if you keep up, the cops are going to pay you a visit. And so the boy's mom ended up texting me saying, this is his mom, you can just text me. And I didn't respond. And so today, like, as I was just taking inventory, like, of my own life, the things that have, have been stressing me, the things that I feel have been bringing stress, and I'm about to make a point. Like, that was one of the things. And I thought that giving up control meant like there would be no consequences. So in that moment, God asked me, he says, you've already made it clear what the consequences are. Is there any reason for you to leave the lines of communication open? You've been communicating, they have not been hearing you. So is it really necessary for you to just leave it on? And so when I thought about it, I said, actually not. And I ended up like blocking all of them, all the kids, blocking them all, because it's no more talking. Yeah, and so that was a point of like letting people do what they gonna do, but also, not letting them doing what they gonna do affect what I have to do. And so it's like it correlates to like even the life that like we live. He told me the revelation that he gave me about control is that control brings stress. Control makes you worried. It makes you anxious. It does anything but give you the fruit of the spirit. And so, like, when he showed me, like, the me, he says, you've been waiting unhappily because you've been trying to control how things are flowing, not realizing that as long as you are trying to control the narrative, I can't really bless you. It's certain things I can't do in your life. It's certain like encounters that you won't ever have with me because you are trying to control how things are flowing, control how the timing of things, just controlling dynamics that you have no control over. And a lot of times, what we waste the most time on is trying to control things that are beyond our pay grade. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Think about it. I want some of y'all to like actually like just sit and think about it. A lot of times the things that like you're trying to control, they are things that are above your pay grade, meaning there's nothing that you can do. And a lot of times we sit at that brick wall expecting for it to budge as if it was a wall made of sheetrock. And so we bump our heads so many times, and God is just gracious. He's just giving us a grace that is saying, I hope that you get it right. I hope that you understand that you can't change this and that you surrender control. You ever like lost your keys and you felt like you were on a time schedule, and it's like you ever like got stressed out about not feeling like not being able to find your keys only for them to be right in front of you? And the entire time you're upset. But what you don't realize is that everything that is happening, as chaotic as it may seem, is a part of God's plan. When you think about the other things, the other many different things that God is doing in our life, when you think about like we getting bent out of shape about, a deadline, us missing a deadline. We bent out of shape about not graduating on time. We getting bent out of shape about not getting that apartment, not getting that vehicle. We getting bent out of shape about feeling like one problem is becoming an even bigger problem. And the entire time there's nothing that you can do but wait on God. The entire time there's literally nothing that you can do. Man. And so, as I was spending time with God, he said, what you've done is you've entered into a place of surrenderance. When we get to that place of pure surrenderance, there is no need to control. Say it again. When we get to a place of surrenderance, there is no need to control. And what happens is as we relinquish control, we start to see that, being controlling robbed us of the little things that bring us joy, the things that make life worth living. And that what we also start to see is that we put down a lot of the things, a lot of the qualities, a lot of the habits, a lot of the stuff that some of us just simply enjoy doing because we were busy trying to control the flow of something that would never happen. And God told me today, he says, this is where you are. Now you're getting back to you. You're not trying to control the flow, and you're actually seeing that as you wait, you can actually still be enjoying life. As you wait, what God also shows us is that honestly, there's nothing to worry about at all. Today before I got on this broadcast, I was a little bit late. I wasn't lagging behind of being late, but I was late, and Right as I was getting ready to go live, maybe about 15 minutes, I'm like, I need to start putting the title on the on the videos and trying to find the right stuff, and being my own graphic designer, it was something. But I had taken my dogs outside, and y'all know Bo Brady, that baby, my poo. He is something serious. He is my baby. He's probably my favorite. I'm not even gonna lie. They all my favorite, but I got a special place for Mr. Bo Brady. But we had went outside, and Bo does this thing, like, even since I first got him as a baby. He like just stretches out in the sun. Like, he just likes to just sunbathe. And there was a portion where like Bo was like just sunbathing, and he was just laid out, and he oftentimes does this where he don't have a care in the world. He just living life. And I looked at him, and the Lord says, this is what freedom looks like. He held a mirror up to me, and he said, this is what freedom looks like. It looks like that. Living life, enjoying where you are, relaxing along the way, and trusting me. And that's it. I say all of that to say is, if you desire to experience real freedom, and by real freedom, I mean a life without stress, a life without anxiety, a life where you don't feel heavy, a life where, you are not overthinking, a life where your mind is at peace and it is resting, the cost of it will be control. Your control, whatever version or however amount of control you feel you may have, freedom will cost you giving up your control. Some of y'all watching me, this is the reason why you stress. This is the reason why you're heavy, right? It shows up every single day, the need to control. Okay, God, I get paid. I'm going to say it. I get paid. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this with that money. That's going to, and you ever had a moment where it's like you get paid and you like, I had plans for that, and you be bent out of shape because God tell you to do something else, or something unexpected comes out the woodwork. And a lot of times the plans that we want to like make are plans to get to our expected end sooner rather than later. We're wanting to like skip steps. And so we get frustrated when something happens and we like, man, that was going to go towards that. That was going to go towards that. And so I've been in a place, even for me, where I've been having to get out of the habit of making plans with whatever belongs to God. I've even had to get to the place of like, God, I'm not going to get bent out of shape by anything that happens, anything that you tell me to do. I'm just going to just let it be what it is. And so that is today's daily manna. Giving God control, giving up control. And so if this has blessed you, can you just simply tell God thank you? Can you just tell him thank you? What I was going to say is, attached to this video, I have put in the description of this video, our Amazon wish list. I am making it my mission to provide a better live experience, and to just honestly obey God and do what he has called us to do. That looks like getting everything together to have a better quality live streaming from the PC, the lighting, reading up on some of the things that I need, and just keeping myself goal oriented as far as ministry is revolved concerned rather. So if you want to be a blessing to the ministry and just help us grow, help us really expand and level up, I'll be adding things as God leads me to, but right now I just have the basic things that are like right now needs on there, which is the upgrades to the lighting and different things like that. And so if you would like to be a blessing to the ministry, you absolutely can. To those of you guys, if this word was a blessing to you, today's the seed number is 1111, and the seed title is Give God Control. I'll say that again. The seed number is 1111, and the seed title is Give God Control. The ways to sow are also in the description of this video. My moderators will be posting it in the live chat so that you can know where to sow if you desire to sow. Tomorrow I will not be on for our daily manna. I have plans that were made before my schedule changed, and so I will be seeing you guys on Monday morning for our daily manna. What I will say is we will still be doing our TikTok lives at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you guys have not followed us from TikTok, if you came over to YouTube from TikTok, welcome. Thank you for shifting over with us. Yeah, we'll be live tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you need one-on-one time with me, if you need to send a prayer request, go to the website thoughtsbyT.com for all prayer requests. Send it through the contact us page, and you can book straight from the link. But that is it, you guys. That is it. We had an amazing time on TikTok last night. It was what a live. It was a great live, Holy Spirit filled. And so I want to encourage you guys to shift over with us. And so that is it for today's Daily Manna. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. I pray that it has encouraged you. And so that is it. Again, if you're sowing, the seed number is 1111. Or you can sow whatever God tells you to sow. And yeah, that's it. And so I love y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. And so till next time, y'all.